Let's talk a little bit about seed covering. So when you go to approach any lawn, it's going to have some areas that are thinner than others. And, you're going to want to put some sort of seed covering there. It's mainly for erosion control. A lot of people will think, well, birds are going to come and eat my seed. Listen, any birds landing in your lawn, they're not going to eat enough seed to harm anything. So I wouldn't worry about that. The covering is not for them, although a covering does stop birds from coming to your lawn if it annoys you. But really, the covering is there to help hold in moisture, and really, in my opinion, it's there for erosion control. Because besides not getting enough water, the other reason that seed spots fail is because of washout. Sometimes it's not even washout. Sometimes it's just the seeds themselves move because there's a little bit too much water pooling across. Maybe you get a hard rain and it'll wash the seeds. It'll washboard them away. And so there's just none in that area. Whereas if you put a seed covering down, it can help. And so the cheapest one and the easiest one to get, and the one that most of you will use, is peat moss. You can get giant bricks of it. It's like $20. It's super dirty, but it's super light. You just get out there and spread it across and drop it in the thinner areas. And it works great, especially if you have some existing grass there to help hold it in. Because peat moss, there's a positive with peat mosses in that you can't get it too thick. Some seed coverings, if you get them too thick, they'll choke your seed out. And we'll talk about those in a minute. Peat moss, it's impossible. It's so light and so airy, it will not choke out seeds, so it doesn't matter how thick you get it down. However, because it's so light and so airy, it can actually wash away too. So if you have wide open areas, and this is the case too, you might have some areas of your lawn that are sufficiently thick, 30% grass, you're seeding in, blah, 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 but you might have large areas the size of a car that are bare. Peat moss is not going to be the best for that. You should throw some peat moss in there if you have it, but in that case, you should also get a different covering, and that's where I talk about Scots Patchmaster. Here's the thing. I've only seen it at Ace stores. And they don't have it in Florida because I don't think they do. I have never seen it because this is not a seed place where we do a lot of seeding. But you'll find it in Northwest Indiana. Every Ace store had it, Scots Patchmaster. And the thing about Scots Patchmaster is it's like this recycled fluffy stuff. But it looks like what you pull out of the couch cushions or the cushions of an old Ford. Like if you ever tore open the cushions of an old car and in there is like this, it's like a colorful mix of stuff that can pull apart. Maybe that's not the right. Whatever it is, you put this down, this fluffy Scots Patchmaster, and you water it and it flattens out really nice. Now, you got to be careful you don't get it too thick. So I tell people I want you to get it as thin as possible. And you just keep brushing it between your hands. Thin, thin, thin. Thin as layers as you can imagine to get it out there and then water it. And it works so good. The thing about it is it comes with seed in it. Now, it's got Scott's seed in it. That's fine. They've been selling seed for years, right? They're one of the oldest. I was just at Scott's. Very interesting. Did you know that the original grass seed they sold was a waste stream product? They were actually, I think it was millet or something else, some other wheat, something else they were growing had grass seed contaminated in it. And so they would separate that out. And they were like, what do we do with this grass seed? We'll sell it to homeowners to grow lawns out of. That's how it started. It was a waste stream product. Pretty wild. So Scott's, legendary seed sellers. Again, more about Pro Vista coming. Anyway, back to it. So the Scots Patchmaster, it does have their seed impregnated into it, which is fine. I always put more down, though, because they're just never going to put as much as I want, right? So I would always put my own seed down, and then I would put the Scots Patchmaster on top as thin as possible, water it. Man, that's the best. If you can find it, highly recommend it. Have for years. I've recommended that product for years. I've even looked into trying to create my own Scots Patchmaster. Haven't been able to do it yet because I like it that much. Okay, if you can't get that, you can look up Greenview Seeding Mulch. And they'll have different versions of this, but the Greenview Seeding Mulch is one I know you can get on Amazon. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll give you a link. But they'll have this at some, Farm Fleet stores, Ace. I don't think most Home Depots, Menards will. Most of the two big box Home Depot and Lowe's, I don't think they're going to carry pelleted seed coverings because I don't think it's something that's in high demand necessarily. I think more people are buying the shake and feed stuff nowadays. It's just easier. But your more niche stores like Ace and Farm and Fleet, Tractor Supply, True Value, and then independent garden centers for sure, they will have some pelleted stuff. And Greenview Seeding Mulch is one. Now that one you got to be careful too. It doesn't spread out like the couch cushion stuff. It's not like that. It's pellets, and so you're really just spreading the pellets out. But you want them thin. You want space between them. And what happens as they get watered, they flatten out, and they'll join together. Now, I don't like it as much as I do the Scots Patchmaster, which kind of starts out already as a thin blanket on top, and when you water it, it's like just kind of melts on top. In other words, the Scots Patchmaster to me more mimics hydro seeding, where the stuff is embedded together, whereas the pellets don't. They don't mimic hydro seeding as well, but they will help with erosion control. But it's very easy to get them too thick. So if you have any of the pellets that pile up at all or get too close together, they will choke your seed out. And that's the downside to those. And it can take a couple of days of watering for them to spread out and flatten out. But they do excellent with erosion control as well. So those are kind of the options that I've mostly used when I've done this. And it will be important that you have some sort of seed covering for your thinnest areas or areas where you might experience washout. Another thing to add to coverings. A lot of people will ask, Alan, should I add topsoil to my lawn? Is that good? Should I top dress with topsoil? And I would say I wouldn't use anything called topsoil because you just don't know what type of weed seeds you're introducing. Now, I do know that there are things you can get. One I'm thinking of now is called command soil. That's like a peat moss that's heated to hundreds of degrees to kill all of that stuff in there. And then they inoculate it after that with their own blend of herbs and spices. And I think that's really cool. Those products are fine, but those are things that have been, I guess, the word isn't sterilized, but they've killed any seeds in there because those are things that people use in nurseries and everywhere else, like that command soil. So that was fine. But anything that's labeled topsoil, I would just be careful of. Even if they call it screened topsoil, all that's doing is taking out the chunks, right? Screening it down to 1/4 inch or whatever. That's taking out the chunky stuff, but that's not going to take out seeds. And I'm telling you, you just never know what kind of seeds you could be introducing to your lawn. Just go to any Home Depot after a rain, and I guarantee you, if you find bags of busted open topsoil, there will be stuff growing out of it. And that's because there's seeds in there. So you always want to be careful with that. Again, Command, the only one I know is Command. It's down here. I'll be doing some work with them. I know their stuff is good because it doesn't have, that's what it's for. I mean, they actually use it to top dress lawns here in Florida. So it's sterilized in that way. And there may be other products like that. You guys could tell me what they are. But anything labeled topsoil, I would just stay away from that for sure because you never know what's in it.